And I am an axiological atheist, which can simply be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. And I want to address the God concept. Not just if it exists, but what is the concept that's being talked about. I challenge that the concept offered even has any cognitive meaning. So to the question, do I believe in God? Well, what is a God? And what do you mean by that term? If you think you believe in a God, what do you mean by God? Saying a name tells me not one thing about the thing I am asking. I am asking to know its beingness, its thingness, its attributes, its qualities. Thus, I want to know, what is this thing that you are calling God? To what are you talking about or referring? And again, I'm asking not just for your myth or a story, but what is it you're talking about? What is the qualities, the thingness, the attribute of this claim called God? Religious and theistic people with these supernatural beliefs often seem as though they have not thought much about it. Because when I ask them to genuinely give me what a God is, how many I see fail. And this is something that we can help using ontology questions, asking its specific details, its beingness, thingness, attributes, and qualities that they are trying to refer to. And I like to do this before we get to, is this stuff true? First, what are you even talking about? I demand that you explain it fully. What do you mean by God when you are using the term? And I am not asking for you to attach a name to a thing, because it just adds a name to a label. The label God, who is already not defined. Simply a placeholder term. And I don't need to know what you believe you know about God. I am asking, what is this thing that you are calling real? All real things should have qualities that you can explain if you claim to know them. I want to know the qualities in every detail. Because like things that are real, that is something that we can easily do. Or generally with not that much effort. Certainly not like trying to invent a God into a reality that is obviously godless. And are you asking about God if I believe and I think, how do you explain to me that you're not just making this all up? How do you explain that what you claim is actually real? Because making stuff up, the hoping, the guessing, the faith promoted of unjustified ideas is not worth believing in. So what do you believe? What is a God? Do you want to know what is really true? I know I do. And how many seem not to? Seem to be without concern if what they believe is actually true. Religion and its God myths are like a spiritually transmitted disease of the mind. This infection, even once cured, holds mental disruptions that can linger on for a lifetime. Man, that just inspires for me the love of firebrand atheism. I want to champion the victims that atheism is freeing from religion's clutches. I am a firebrand atheist. Some call this militant. But I ask you, how militant is it just to strongly defend reality? from those who wish to impose it a burden of false claim things like ghosts, gods, and goblins. Being a firebrand atheist is about speaking out against these harmful ideas, the religious bigotry, the lies, and the hate. Religion is fond of three main things: pseudoscience, pseudo-history, and pseudo-morality. And they use it often against their followers and the believers in God. This is an attack on them, and thus I wish to help. This thing of unjustified, harmful superstitions and supernatural thinking, not this limited understanding that they are allowing themselves to hold of reality. These people believe in this useless idea, God, and they actively promote it, even up to the harm of others. How I wish for secularism. Not some atheism world dominated either. Although it would be nice if the world woke up to these crazy thoughts and realized that naturalism is all there is. I do not wish some dark, pale servitude. No. I wish secularism and freedom, even for the religious and the non-religious alike. But I actively oppose the fanatic theists or the extreme religionists from imposing some kind of a theocracy oppression that they wish to communally seek and push on others. Furthermore, as a firebrand atheist and a secularist, I do not in any way support the harm of believers in religions or gods, or the removing of their right to freely believe as they wish. But I will boldly call out its lies, its harm, and the hate. And speaking of hate, I hate religion. I hate the ideas as they twist minds with their horrible properties of falsehood. That they can do this to religious people cannot seem like it doesn't matter. These are fellow dignity beings. These are full humans, and I care about them. And I think we should be respectful, especially of the ones that choose to live in peace. And that we must understand that while I don't support hate, not all hate is bad. The hate of injustice is often the positive motivation for justice, whereas the hate of people is often the motivation for injustice. And that is a bedrock of religion. This tribalism, instead of a positive motivation for justice and the freedom from hate. No, it's more prone to injustice. I can say that I know that no God exists psychologically. To me, a God is a non-reality commodity. As it's offered, it's an unjustified claim, referring to a proposed thing not evident in reality. Thus, by its own intemp set of definition, it is not a thing that exists in reality. Therefore, such a thing is actually expressed as being not real to reality. And this means to me that gods in reality don't exist. I hear them say, but there's something past reality. Well, then that would be an admission that they are not in reality. I can't access a non-reality. And unless you have some reality, property facts to support your claims, it would be on me to remind you that it should be the null hypothesis, that they do not exist. And thus you have given me a non-reality God claim that is unjustified, and thus no gods exist, until you can show me otherwise. And then you say something about facts, right? Well, facts, like truth, are labels that we put on claims that we think are proven somehow. In that assertion, we believe it to match the state of affairs in reality. You claim God's understanding is a fact. You say it's by faith. But facts would be properties demonstrable in reality, not your unrealistic assumptions about reality. And if you're making realistic assumptions from science, then likely it is supported by beliefs in scientific realism, not these anti-realist ideas. And that these are generally religion and gods are offered as truth, but what they really are more like is conspiracy theories of reality. And what they should be, and if all true facts, should be a corresponds theory of truth, being able to show that what you're saying corresponds to reality. And, the reason people believe is not because they've been given some preponderance of facts, they read enough stuff that was so qualitative. No, it's childhood indoctrination. And childhood indoctrination in religion is often the gateway drug to a life of irrational, magical superstitions, like ghosts, gods, and guardian spirits. To me, God is a mental parasite. This idea that's once given is able to actually move lives because it is offered in a way that it is truth when there is nothing about it that is true. But God is not simply a myth. It is a mental parasite that feeds off your life. It is like a mental prison concept. It disemboweling you of thinking. And any religion that supports the concepts of these unrealistic, non-reality concept gods, then to me it's like a controlling jar that is put over the believer's mind. Locked up. What is love if it is so cheap that it's wholesale able to be sold into myths? To me, it is truly a sad thing when you have people offer more love to an unknown and at best unproven thing that they call God, not even evident in this world in any way, over real people, even their loved ones, which are known and are here in this world. Sadly, all too often, a mind full of God myths has no appetite for reason. I am an anti-religionist, not just an atheist. And here is why, summed up in a few ideas, I'm against. And it's all things that are common in religion, as I stated before. Pseudoscience, pseudo-history, and pseudo-morality. And my biggest thing of all, and probably the most widespread problem, is the forced indoctrination of children. The violating of their free choice, for which they can't not choose to believe or not believe on their own. I hate forced hereditary religion. The belief that just because you're born into a family, that you already are obligated to some belief in a God of some choosing. This is not free belief. This is mental entrapment. This is harm. I hate forced hereditary religion. as well as I wish to offer strong critical critiques regarding all the pseudo-meaning of the three-letter noise that people call God. Group-originated delusions. Again, what do you mean by God? And I hear, well, Damien, atheism and theism are both based on faith, not fact, and thus they can be simultaneously irrational. No. Only theism prefers faith over facts. Atheism, the rejection of those claims on faith, does not use faith and would only be hindered if it did use faith. If faith is added, it only makes things more confused. All faith would be, in a sense, is your confidence level. I'm 100% confident, meaning I have full faith. It doesn't tell you if it's accurate. It's not evidence other than just your opinion. And let me explain again, as there seems to be a confusion on faith. Faith is strong belief, emotional confidence, a psychological certainty, without evidence or contrary to evidence. I see all the available evidence. And you know what? Not one bit of it is supernatural. That everything that was once believed to be magic or something unprovable and only in the realm of God has now turned out to be just natural, no magic at all. To think that the belief in magic and the rejection of magic are equal is a misunderstanding of the evidence available. Thus, it is uninformed, unthinking, irrational, confused, or lying to say that atheism is the same as theism. Faith is not evidence of reality. Faith is not a substance with which to judge truth or falsehood or the reality of a claim. Faith is not evidence of the reality of things. In a sense, it's just a mental attitude about a belief. So bringing up trust or faith, trust to them, or hope, when one is asserting a reality thing without evidence is to offer a lie in the place of evidence. So faith or trust can be 100% and yet 100% wrong. Faith actually would be no guarantee either way. It's not a valid evidence. It's not a valid way to know the reality of the world. Think there are millions of people of different faiths, all believing with the same strong 100% assurity that they, and only they, are the right ones due to faith. Of course, this faith is always different. So how can it be an accurate method of anything? But then you see the trust and faith dilemma. You can't determine who is wrong or right by a proclamation of faith, because faith is strong belief without evidence or contrary to evidence. It is not a valid test of reality or making valid claims about it. Cannot be done with faith. Faith is not something one offers if they have evidence. But in theism and religions, faith is set in the glimmering heights, glowing with lights. Some prized possession must be attained and believed by some who are so desperate to force and keep believing that they have to use this thing, faith. This non-real world feeling of trust. Like when religious believers believe in faith over what they see in the real world. Without valid evidence or other things than just feelings. that are not derived from reality, but do rely on as well as involve fideism, faithism, which is a theistic reality confusion. That to have faith, one has proof of reality. And this magic-devoid world, filled by magic, run by magical interventions, often included reality, was created by magic, and somehow or other, magic will come one day to destroy reality. All a bunch of nothing stories by pushing this faithism, magic now, magic in the future, magic in the past, this theistic reality confusion on the truth of reality because of the overvaluation of faith. A rationalist mind rejects the use of the F word. Faith is anything but feelings. We use feelings and emotion in every thought and endeavor. It leaves our mind and we never stop emotion. But this is not the same thing as actively claiming these feelings and emotions as facts. Thinking of evidence in faith is ridiculous and an expression of faithism. When you say God, what do you mean by God? Again, when you say you have proof of God, what are you really saying to me? And when you're asking, how can I not believe, what are you asking me? What's before the Big Bang? Because most of the time, what people will do if they believe, they'll say, well, God is here. And then I'll ask them, where's God in reality? Well, actually, how do you explain how everything got here? Like, what's before reality? Or what's before the Big Bang? What's before the, this type of a argument to me is ridiculous. First, what do you mean by God? And then what is really being asked is what happened before the universe of naturalism we do know exists, hoping that you don't. And it leaves open this possibility for their God myth of choice. What is before the Big Bang? Well, I don't know. Some kind of cosmos, something, I don't know. But I am not waiting for science to one day tell us all. I accept that I don't know now. And if science never tells us, I'm fine with that too. But much more humble is it to this acknowledgement that I don't know than the religious claim of knowing. However, it is only reasonable to consider that all things before must be natural, as all things after the Big Bang were produced were only natural. It's all I have, the evidence available. With this amazing world of science facts, one after another disproving the faulty claims of past gods and religions, we need to stop asking whether believing in gods or religion is rational, and instead start asking, strongly holding on to religious beliefs is even cognitively reasonable or possible. When you know the facts, what do you mean by God? So even though you may say terms like God, as if it has some universal meaning of something or anything, yet without a concern if this myth people believe in is independent of reason, because they claim it is superior to reason. On the reliance of faith alone, and some generally chosen religious belief or another, even though they're not valuing reason itself. But you don't believe in a know-nothing theism. So I don't even understand why they think that asking about the Big Bang, the most that something before the Big Bang is that maybe something did something. Yeah, but that doesn't give you any qualities, any evidence of anything. Even if someone could say that they agreed with that maybe some magic started this. Okay, well, that doesn't help us. We still don't know if the magic was a god. I mean, like I said, the fact that everything after is natural, and from the moment that it started, there's no reason for me to assume that it has to be magic that started it. It's more reasonable that it just kept doing the same thing, more natural. Now be honest. When you think of God, the influences of some God myth come into your head. Not an unknown possibility, something. Not some vague theism possibility before the universe, before the Big Bang. No. People tend to believe in a specific God. Generally, though, it's a God of their own choosing. So honestly, though, can you really support this vague something of choosing? You know, to me, again, what do you mean by God? God should stand for confusion. And I appreciate y'all listening. And